Today I'm going to begin a piece of work in mixed media, inspired by one of my favourite artists, Mark Hurld. It's really hard to describe how you make a piece of mixed media artwork. I'll show you one that I made a few years ago. It's hard to describe how it came into being. There are so many layers and different things have happened along the way. You can see there are maps in there. There's writing out of a book of poetry. There's lots of different textures and there's layers of paint. I really don't know where I'm going when I start a piece of mixed media collage artwork, but there are some things I do know I will include in today's talk. I have no idea what the artwork will look like in the end, but I'm going to talk about, first of all, compositional considerations, how I compose the arrangement that I'm going to make. I know I'm going to use blue because I don't seem to be able to do without blue at the moment. My favourite colour. And I'll collage some music into it. I'm hearing so much bird song every morning and evening. I'd like to incorporate music to represent the sound of the bird. The main subject matter is the blackbird and the strawberry plant. There'll be some collage in it. I'll be using acrylics. I'll show you how to use acrylic glazing medium. And I'll show you a technique called image transfer. So I have photocopied my drawing. I did a drawing of a blackbird, and I photocopied it and enlarged it to the actual size of a blackbird. And I'm going to do an image transfer of that onto the prepared board. I've also photocopied some actual strawberry leaves, and I'll probably use those at some point as well. And I've photocopied the drawing of the strawberry plant, so I can image transfer those into the composition and draw over them and paint over them and do additional bits of collage, whatever happens to feel right along the way. But as I say, I don't really have a clear idea in my mind as to what it will look like when it's finished. It's one of those things you just know when it's finished, you know when it's done. But to begin with, I've marked out in my sketchbook a square and two rectangles. The rectangles are the same ratio as the board that I'm going to work on. So this is my prepared piece of board. But I want to decide whether to make the work in portrait format or landscape format first of all, and I will also try out a square composition just to explore all the possibilities. So I did a bit of pre-prep work on my phone and taken a photograph of the drawing, and it's got some music in the corner, and I've put a squared grid on it. It's a 3x3 grid, so I've got the square divided up into sections, into thirds this way, thirds that way, because one of the useful sort of rules of thumb with composition, in order to avoid creating a symmetrical composition, which isn't always the most interesting type of composition, it's interesting to follow what they call the rule of thirds, which is it's guidance. It's not a rule really, you don't have to follow it. But where I've gridded up this photograph, it's placed the bird's eye almost on the intersection of this third and this third. So that's quite interesting. So the bird would come something like this. And this is just for the purposes of exploring how I would want to lay out the composition if I did it on a square format. I'm not worrying too much about getting the shapes right, but just rather blocking in so I can explore how this would work as a potential composition. So I'd have the music up there, blackbird here, the main leaf down here, probably have a strawberry coming out here. So this would be leafy area. Blackbird, music, maybe another leaf down here, more parts of the plant up there. Okay, so I'll just spend a few minutes on each of these sketches and then consider whether to work inside a square. I quite like that composition. It might be one that would be fun to do as a lino cut. I'm beginning to think now. And then I'll try the same thing out in portrait format rectangle. Okay, so that would work. Quite like that. Let's have a look though at landscape format. Okay, now here I've got the bird's eye. It's almost in the centre of the whole rectangle. The centre from left to right, but not the centre from top to bottom. So it's not right there. It's still on the third in this direction, but it's in the centre in this direction. Don't know whether this works quite as well. Just put a leaf over here. Music. I'm sort of keeping the music in a similar position on each one for now, but who knows, anything could change in the process. It's not a matter of sort of creating a drawing and then carrying it out in collage and mixed media, but starting to well, the only decision I want to make right now is which format to go for: square, rectangular, landscape or portrait. But as to where everything else goes, that's a movable feast. It can be changed until it all lands in the right place and says I'm finished. Okay, well, that's quite interesting too. I quite like. So the plant would sort of fill that third. There'd be a little bit of plant on that third there. There's his eye. And the strawberry maybe down there. There's that dark red juicy strawberry. So I need to start thinking now about the relationship between, there's going to be an orange beak, isn't there? Orange beak. Okay, let's think orange beak. It's going to be like that. The red strawberry. And I guess this area up here is going to be the blue area. More blue up there, and the music. I don't really know what colours I'm going to have in the rest. Greens for the leaves, I suppose. So I need to think, make a decision. Which one works best?